Alright, so quick disclaimer before I do anything. If you guys want to do something to your own microphone, do it at your own risk, because if you do any changes to your Quadcast microphone, it'll void your warranty for HyperX, and you won't be able to get any fixes or replacements from them once they see that you've done some changes or modifications to your microphone. And keep in mind, we are going to be dealing with some electronic pieces, so try to be as careful as you can and follow things as explained in the video. I won't be responsible for anything that happens with your microphone. Now also, you may have noticed that I have made a little change to my microphone at the top. You could see a cutout in the back of the microphone, and I did that because this is the first time anyone has really taken apart a HyperX microphone, as from what I could see online. So I didn't really have much resources or help to figure out what to do. I had to do everything just assuming this happens, I'll do this next. Maybe just figuring out what to do based on things I've taken apart in the past. And there might be a way to go around that, but I decided to improvise, and after I do the modifications, I'll 3D print out a piece to cover that with a logo for something that I have in mind. And yeah, I'll explain later in the video how you can avoid cutting this without messing it up permanently, because some people want to keep the microphone the way it looks, but I'll explain it later in the video. Now, the first thing you gotta do with your microphone is disconnect it from the stand that it comes with, if you already have it on that stand. And after you get rid of the stand, what you have to do is remove all those stretchy band pieces on the outside of the microphone. And if something falls out from the back of the microphone, it's like a little ring object. That is the part that links the actual microphone to the stand. And if both of them fall out, it doesn't matter. You can put them in anytime in either way. So then you have to take off the screws using an Allen wrench. There's going to be several screws per ring, and there's 2 rings on there. So make sure you remove all of them. And I recommend putting them somewhere where you won't forget them. Like, for example, I used a paper plate, or you could use a plastic plate or a cup or anything to make sure you don't lose any of these screws. Now, once you removed all of the screws, you can just easily slide off both of the ring pieces so they're no longer in your way. And you'll see later into the video why you have to remove those first. After you remove both of the rings, you have to look at the very bottom of the microphone where the gain control is, and you should be able to pull that out. It will take a little bit of force though. Now, once you remove the gain control, what you're going to have to do is remove the 3 screws. And you don't have to, but it'd be easier if you remove the 2 hex nuts as well, because what they're connected to behind that is a little piece for the actual headphone jack and nothing else. But if you remove the hex nuts, it'll make it easier when you pull it out to remove some cables. For the hex nuts, I just use pliers, because something that you would usually use to remove those would be way too big to fit into that tiny little space inside of the microphone. So you're just gonna have to use a little bit of pressure and turn with the tweezers on each side of the hex nut if you want to. And if you are doing that, try to make sure you don't put a lot of pressure down, because if you slip and the pliers scratch over the actual board, you can see there's little tracing that connects each part to another piece, and if you actually scratch that piece, you'll lose the connection, and there's no way you can fix that. Now, once you removed all 3 screws, there's a little metal piece on one side where one of the screws went. What you would have to do is just bend it out of the way to make sure you'll have enough space to pull the actual piece out. So what you would have to do next is pull on the actual knob out, and you should be able to just wiggle it free. Now, there will be some cables connecting the actual piece of the board to more pieces inside, and what you will as you pull it out, if you can, you could try to pull out some of the cables from where they connect, and don't worry about where they are later, because I'll explain where each one goes. Now that you remove the headphone jack piece from the actual microphone, you'll be able to see that now there's just a hole where the headphone jack is supposed to be. Stick the screwdriver and put it through that piece, that hole, and just pull out from the opening piece. Once some of the transparent piece is sticking out, at least there's enough for you to actually hold on to and have a good grab on, you can pull out the rest from there. Now, as you pull it out, you may notice from the top of the microphone and the red pop filter piece that it will start like getting pulled along with it on one side. There's like a black cable connecting something from the top to the part that you're pulling out, and what that is connected to is the actual touch sensitive top of the microphone. Since it's just a straight cable going down, it will be good to just pull it off and the top piece, like cable, would just disconnect by itself. And now that you have taken out the piece, you may wonder when you look at the top, it's like, oh, how am I going to get that cable back to the top if like nothing can fit up there to actually get it? Well, this is where I told you I'll explain what I did to the top piece. But at the time, I didn't know how to actually take that piece off. I tried to just pull off the top, but it wouldn't work. And after I cut out the piece, I realized that they really wanted to make sure you wouldn't take this whole thing apart, so they decided to glue that into that place, the top piece. And you can see in the camera like all the glue residue that's on the top. So there was really, unless you're really strong, there was really no way you can pull that out. What I would suggest to do is get like a hair blow dryer and heat up the top piece so the glue would start to melt up a little bit, and then you'll be able to pull it off from there. If that doesn't work, what you can do, since the body of the microphone is a thin aluminum piece, is get like a screwdriver or something and like make a little hole at the top from pushing down on it, and then put like a hair dryer through into that little hole, and then put the screwdriver in there and start like prying off the piece. If you don't really care about how the way the microphone looks and you just want it to perform better, then I would say the easiest way is to just cut out a tiny little piece. It doesn't have to be as big as the one that I did, but just enough for you to see like where the actual piece of the top connects, and you'll be able to pull it out from there. From there, it is really easy to remove the pop filter if that's all you're looking to change. So you would be able to just take out the pop filter and replace it with whatever one you like, and then start putting it all back together from there. Now there is an LED on the top piece, and the only color obviously that it has is red. So if you're looking to change like the lighting inside, that's one of the things you have to look at. Now if you take off the top board piece and you want to put it back, if you notice on one of the screw holes on the board, you'll see that there's like a tiny smaller hole next to one of those, and you have to align that with one of the pieces inside of the actual top plastic piece. You'll notice that next to one of the parts where you put in the screw, there's gonna be a little small piece sticking up, and that's where you have to put that in. It only fits in that one way. Now if you notice the circular ring board and you're one of the people that want to change the LED colors into it, what that ring board is literally just a bunch of red LEDs, tiny little LEDs that connect to the top piece to know when to light up or not. So if you want to change the colors, what you would have to do is either remove that piece entirely, or just get whatever color LEDs you want. If you wanted to go RGB, then use that. And you'll see that there's like the two cables that plug into that board. And those are most likely what you're gonna need to plug your board into, that you want to have your different lighting, because that's the power cables. Obviously one's gonna be ground, the other one's gonna be positive. I haven't actually measured like what voltage is being outputted from that, so once I start making the changes to it and changing the colors, then I'll let you guys know what voltage you're gonna need to use and all that stuff. From here, you'll be able to fully reassemble the parts together. but with the first thing being the pop filter, since it would be the most annoying to try to fit in at like perfectly. So I recommend doing that first. Next, you put the headphone jack and power supply board piece into the bottom again and align it so the headphone jack and the power cable would be able to go into like the little slots easily. And remember that there's going to be that little folded metal piece in there, so you got to push that out of the way to make sure you can get that piece in there properly. And from there you'll be able to plug in all the cables. You can push them in trying to like stick your finger into the area where like there's no piece in the way, because there's one side that's like completely covered in plastic and one side just a window, so you can plug in each cable. And once all the cables are plugged in, all you need to do is make sure that the screw holes are aligned with where they should be, and you can screw in the two pieces that don't have that metal piece connecting to it. And if you remove the hex screws, you can put those back on now. And before you put in the third screw on the area that you folded that metal piece, you have to fold it back into position so you can put the screw through that metal piece and into the slot where the screw needs to be, and then tighten it. And that would be it for that part. Once it's all put together, you can easily just slide it back into the body of the microphone. Make sure that you also slide it into the correct way, so the headphone jack place is right where it should be, and the knob part where you could change the mode of the microphone is in the right place. And the easiest way to make sure it's perfect is look at all the screw holes where the rings are supposed to go into, because obviously you need to have those aligned with the inside piece to make sure you can actually put those back on. Once that's in, you'll notice that the long cable that connects to the top part of the microphone is at the very top now, and the pop filter, you gotta make sure where there's like a line inside of it, you put that on the side where like there's gonna be a little metal like hook for the cable to be in. So you align the cable with like that little line slit through the pop filter on one side that's covered, and once you put the cable into the hook part of that thing, you can just push the metal piece to lock it in place. And then again, the cable can only fit one way, so make sure you align the holes with the little pins on the piece that you connect it to. Plug them in, and you should be able to put the mute and unmute button back into its place. If it doesn't want to stay in, or it keeps on falling out after you put it in properly, because you pulled it out and the glue is no longer as good as it was, what you could do is just put more glue. It could be any kind, but if you want a permanent job, I'd say use super glue. But that super glue is a really scary thing to use and stuff like this, so I wouldn't recommend that. Just like normal Elmer's glue, wait for it to dry, or hot glue. Now for the gain control knob plastic piece, all you need to do is, again, it only fits one way, so if you look at the actual like knob part in the inside, it has like a flat piece, so you just gotta align that with like the flat hole part on the knob plastic part. But don't put any pressure yet, because if you try to push the knob back in too hard, you'll end up moving the entire internal piece up, and then all the holes will not be aligned anymore, and you have to try to align them again. But after you screw in the ring pieces back on the outside, then you should be fine to just push in that knob thing as far in as you want to make sure that it's in properly. After that, it is really straightforward for the rest. All you need to do from there is put the ring pieces back onto where they're supposed to be, and just put it onto its stand, whichever stand you prefer to use. And that is it for that. And that concludes this video.